Hello everyone, in today's video I'll yet again be talking about zoophiles, and this time it's the same person as last time. I think I'll just go by their YouTube because it's different to their channel name. It's like links and random numbers, but they responded to the video I made a few days ago, and dear lord, they really responded to every single point I made. And in this video I'll be responding to every single point he made. I'm assuming it's a he. I don't actually know, so I mean, they've never mentioned it, and yeah, I don't know. But anyways, let's get into the first point. Okay, so they say that that zoophilia is not a fetish, but zoophilia is considered a paraphilia, and well, paraphilias are fetishes. Like it's the definition of a paraphilia is like it is a fetish. So they're wrong about that. Okay, now for this one. I know that we're talking about species, because gender is a social construct that, as far as I'm aware, only humans really use. I mean, what use does, would a dog have to have a gender identity? Like, they probably can't even comprehend they can't even comprehend gender identity, probably. Because, I mean, like, dogs, they don't have the ability to comprehend a lot. Like, their comprehensive abilities are similar to that of a toddler, and I mean, it's safe to assume that toddlers can't really comprehend gender, because, I mean, first of all, they don't really have a need to, because, I mean, they're toddlers. Why would a toddler need to know about gender? And second, the point of mentioning this is, like, the definition of a sexuality is an attraction to a gender, so that it does mean that, because, I mean, first of all, your attraction to animals, or specifically dogs, it means that they're not talking about gender, because dogs don't use gender. I mean, as I said, they probably can't even comprehend what gender is, because like sex and gender, they're two different things. Like, genders are, I think if I remember this right, gender is a social construct, and while sex is just biology. So, I mean, at first I thought a sexuality was an attraction to a sex, but I mean, when I looked it up, just to like double check, I was wrong. So, you know. But anyways, my point about that still stands: is sexuality is an attraction to a gender, and a paraphilia is basically a fetish, and zoophilia is considered a paraphilia. So, by that definition, it is a fetish and not a sexuality, as it's an attraction to a species, not a gender, which is the definition of a sexuality. And for this point, I mean, it appears like they're annoyed at me, but they should really just be annoyed at the Oxford Dictionary, because, like, I don't choose the definitions. Like, these are definitions that we've had for quite some time, and like, it's not my fault what these definitions are. Like, you can't just change what something means just to suit you. Like, that's not how it works. Like, and like, you're trying to make me look, I don't know, like, you're trying to make me look dumb or something, because, I mean, like, I mean, social smarts, I've barely got any, but like, this kind of stuff, like, I consider myself, like, decently smart. So, I mean, I really don't get what your point is here. I mean, I'm not objectifying animals for this point, and yes, I am aware that other animals do have, that they do cross species, and like, as I've said before, like, animals such as dogs, cats, and pretty much anything you see in the wild, they act off of instinct, and instinct to breed and procreate, and like, humans, like they've they're more evolved, and humans are smart enough to know that, like, you have to have like the same like chromosome like count in in the like in terms of sex cells. And even if that weren't a problem, like crossing species doesn't like it can be dangerous, I believe. So I this may just be because I get confused about things and like they're not explained properly, but I just don't understand what you're trying to say. Um, from this point, I personally don't. Well, I personally believe that zoophiles aren't natural, as like if it were natural to like other species, then you would be able to procreate. And if you say something like, well, gays can't like procreate, that's a entirely different thing. As like it's to do with sex, like the sex of an animal. So like, I feel like that would be something you'd say, which just doesn't make sense. So like, I'm just saying this in case you do say it, because for some reason you like to compare things that are like an apples to orange situation. And this is a bit of a side note, but like I don't know if you noticed, but I've used different gameplay to what I have done before. This is a game called Speedrunners, and I just thought it would just work for a video like this. I just wondered if anyone in the comments, if you like this kind of like background gameplay, then like tell me, because like I enjoy like playing it. Like I just stream it with like no commentary or anything, just pure gameplay. So if this is something you like, then like, just let me know in the comments. And believe it or not, that was from one point. So we're on this a new point. Um, so I guess I worded what I said wrong. Animals, like they don't actively use consent because they can't comprehend it. Like dogs, they act on their instincts and they don't really think, they just do. Which is like it's like the idea of like of consent is more of a like to sex and stuff. It's more of a human thing. Like it's not really seen with any other species, I don't believe. And I think the idea of consent to those types of things mainly come with like humans and stuff, because as far as I'm aware, no other species like uses consent in this in this scenario. Um, I don't know how to word this because this is something I struggle with. I struggle to word things properly. Um, so basically, when a dog like has sex, it doesn't really think with its brain. It's more in other words, it basically just thinks with its genitals. And I mean, for a dog, it makes sense. It just acts off of its like hormones, and it's the same for both male and female dogs. So like, it doesn't like I don't really know how else to explain it. Like, its organs, it does the thinking for them. So for a female dog, or any other animal really, other than humans, like I mean, then again, humans they do like it's a big influence with them, but like their brain is like more what's the word? Developed. It's more developed, and like, like I mean, a dog real like a dog just like I think dogs really like hump anything just because like they don't really think about it. They just do it, and that's it. Like a human can not want to do it because they're sad. I mean, dogs do get sad, but even then they probably will still do it even if they are sad. No. No, humans do sex for not very complex reasons, and it's more like they do it more than just to procreate, unlike dogs. Like, for example, they do it humans do it for pleasure. They get like a happiness from it. It's one of the reasons why people who don't have a partner or are just alone and have no one to be with, like they pleasure themselves without someone else, and they gives them a hormone release that makes them happier, or just it keeps the edge off, I guess. I don't even know why I'm telling you this. Didn't you do biology in school? Or can you not can you not just Google this stuff? I don't really know. On to the third comment. I mean, I don't see how it's generalizing. Like, children do lack a maturity. It's not just, maturity comes with time. Some people mature differently, but to say that a child is mature for this kind of stuff is idiotic. A child can be smart. Don't get me wrong, some people go to college when they're 11 and stuff. That is possible, but no matter how smart someone is, maturity just comes with time. Someone can gain they can become smart at their they can how do I word this? Maturity can't be taught, so knowledge and intelligence and stuff, that can be taught, and depending on how they're taught and or how well they take stuff in, that affects their intelligence. But maturity does come with time. You can't force maturity, and children just don't mature quick enough. And it's not generalizing, it's just a fact. I don't get what you're trying to say. I mean, a child can't consent to this stuff. I mean, if you even think even with schools and stuff, they have to get a parent's permission to go on a school trip or something. So to say that for this kind of stuff, it's idiotic, as there's risks such as STDs, pregnancy. They can have physical damage such as bleeding and bruising. Do you not see an issue with that? I don't get how you can think it's okay. Okay, this next point is messed up. Why would you want that to happen? First off, why would you want your child to have sex at that kind of age? That's really messed up. And also, why would you want to do it with your own child? Do you not see any issue with that? Do you not, do you have no morals? And I know, in these kind of discussions, morality is subjective, but seriously, that has to be one of the most messed up things I've seen someone say. And before I said, you're not as relevant as Olowski, and I mean, I still think that kind of stands. I've not seen anyone talk about you yet. I've talked about you, but I'm definitely gonna say you're way worse than him, because even though he's done it with like he said he's done it with thousands of dogs. Not only do you promote what he, not only do you support what he does, but you also support paedophiles, and now it appears you you support incest, which is so weird. Why would you want to support that? There's, I'm not even gonna get into it. It's so wrong that it's actually annoying me how you think you're so like how you think you're so how you just think you're right, and how you just think I'm some evil person trying to say that what you do is wrong. I mean, for this you actually can. So with this kind of stuff, not only could bleeding and bruising happen, like this kind of stuff can physically affect the brain. like stress and trauma it can alter the shape of the brain, and and in in the worst case scenario, it can actually like damage the brain. But if you did an MRI scan on a child before and after they were raped by a paedophile, you could see that their brain has physically changed. And so you're wrong. So, And I'd just like to say for everyone, there's 8 points, and I believe we're on the third or fourth. I'm not entirely sure. I still think we're on the third. Dear Lord, we're going to be in for a long time. I don't even know if I'll have enough footage from a stream for this. I think I streamed for 40 somewhat minutes. Almost 50 actually. Yeah, I may not even have enough footage for this. And also with the last bit of the comment, if we were to do a poll of every single person who had been with had an experience with a paedophile, I would bet every single thing I have and ever will have that that a paedophile would not a paedophile a victim of a paedophile would say that they didn't enjoy it and that it's affected them in a negative way. Now I don't really like to talk about rape because it's just an uncomfortable subject. However, because you're talking about it, I kind of have to if I'm going to talk about all the other stuff. Like the problem is the reason why some people don't say that they're being raped is because they're there's quite a few reasons. Some people are scared of others, so they may not want to talk about it in case they fear of being harmed in some way, or they worry how it's going to affect their life onwards in terms of maybe they will be shunned by others, or maybe they'll be accused of lying because some people think that how that person may have previously showed themselves, they say that they lied because I mean people do lie about this kind of stuff, and there's even been some cases where people have came out and said they've been raped, and then the person that has actually raped them has came out and said that they lied and said it was the other way around. Now, how dumb are you? Do you not understand that rape is something that means that you don't consent, but you've just said that there's consensual versions of that, which just that doesn't make any sense. You can't say that you consent to something that you can't wait. You can't say that someone can consent to a non-consensual thing. That's not how it works. That's just dumb. How stupid are you? Seriously, do you not understand that consensual sex, that's the thing, and non-consensual sex is rape? I don't get it. How stupid are you? Okay, now pause to read this, because this person has made this. Oh, it's so dumb. Of course, most people don't enjoy being raped, because it's self-explanatory. What? There's no point stating it if it's self-explanatory. Of course, no one enjoys it. Who enjoys having their consent taken away from them? That's not how people work. That's just, it's mind-boggling that you think that you felt like you needed to state it. Of course, no. But I'd say no one enjoys it. It's not. How can someone enjoy it? I really don't get what they're trying to say. I know in the UK it's pretty common for everyone to watch the tea video, but it's so let's use the analogy of tea. You can't just give someone tea when they don't want it. They drink it and then they like it. They still didn't want it in the first place, so you shouldn't have done it. Sure, they enjoyed it, but it started off as something horrid. And even if they enjoy it, that doesn't mean they want to do it. I they've actually really annoyed me. I had to take a 20-minute break or something to like have lunch and a drink and so, because they really have just pissed me off. And at the end of that highlighted bit, of course you shouldn't rape someone. That, like, I don't think that should be said. Like, it is so dumb. It's actually, it's annoyed me so much. For this point, adults can't, no one can comprehend anything 100%. It's and it has, I don't even think it's even possible, that's even like a possibility. No, I may be wrong about that, but that's an adult, and more, like, an even more, like, developed brain. Like, if that can't comprehend anything 100%, a child definitely can't. So, I don't know what your point is. I didn't, like, you said that, I said that, I didn't. You're just lying. I mean, yes, that's how wisdom works. Like, that's how it, that's what wisdom is. It's more like I think, like, it correlates. The older you get, the more wisdom you gain. I mean, the only way I can really see wisdom going away is like if someone gets Alzheimer's, because like you lose part of your memories and you probably, like, I don't know. So I'm not really thinking straight. I haven't had the greatest night of sleep, and this guy has really pissed me off. Um, First off, a child shouldn't know how to do it, and secondly, it's, well, I don't know what you're on about. There's no, like, the problem with it is that it's rape, and sorry if I'm getting annoyed, but it's because this guy has really just annoyed me. Like, I've not really had decent sleep, and it's just, this guy has really just pushed all my buttons. And for this, it doesn't take 18 years to learn it, obviously. Like, people start learning about it like in secondary school, at the very end of in the UK it's called junior school, and some schools don't even have that. But so like when they're not just before or when at the very start of puberty and adolescence, that's when they should start to learn. And there's not really a lot to learn, but your body needs to be able to get ready to do it. It's not just something anyone can do. Like, the body needs to develop. That's why puberty and adolescence exists. Okay, yes, a child can hypothetically know more and be smarter than an adult, but it doesn't mean that they're mature enough for sex, because their body isn't ready. Because, believe it or not, they have to go through puberty and adolescence. Don't, like, do you not see the problem with their body not being ready? What where is that, like, actually wrong with you? Um, no, I don't. No, I'll never at any other point, and never have and never will be, thinking that paedophiles are valid, because they're not. They're the most invalid thing, yeah, they're the most invalid thing on the planet, in my opinion. And I'll never think that they're okay to exist, so no, you, you're just wrong. Okay, next point, and please explain, because if you're saying that a group that consists of rapists is valid and harmless, I think an explanation is needed. Because, I mean, that's, oh, well, that's actually obvious, but what you're saying isn't. Okay, so I'm assuming for this point they made an error when they're typed, because zoophiles don't have anything to do with children. So, like, I think he probably means that they're not an animal, they're not animal abusers, which they are, because they have sex with them for their own gratification, and well, basically they're just using them for their own gain. But anyways, pedophiles, that, like, they're using their child for them. They don't, like, they may think they're doing nothing harmless, but they are being harmful. I did find a website, if like if he wants to, if this links person wants to see it, or if anyone else wants to, I can try find it again and I'll link it in the comments. But it's like it's like a mental thing. Like they think they're being loving, but they're being harmful. Like a rapist could think they're not being like hurtful. They just think, well, I don't know what they think. Like I'm not a rapist, so I don't know. But both pedophiles and zoophiles, they are harmful, but they just manipulate themselves into thinking that they're not being harmful, when in fact they are, and they try to manipulate others that they're not being harmful. I have appeared to put these points in the wrong order, but comparing furries to zoophiles it doesn't make any sense. They're not the same. Like, a furry just, from my understanding, they dress up as a character that's an animal of some sort, and like there's nothing wrong with that. Like zoophiles, they're actively raping an animal, but furries, they're just dressing like a character, and it's like I'd say it's an apple to oranges situation, but it's not. It's a lot. Like there's such a bigger difference. It's an understatement. And being a furry, it is harmless, but the thing is, look, not so people often confuse furries and zoos, but furries, they're harmless. Like the majority of zoophiles, from what I've gathered, are likely to be furries, but not every furry is a zoophile. In fact, furries, for the most part, I believe, are against it. Like, there's someone in the comments who I've actually talked to on Discord. I think their YouTuber is Nikki Mallows or something. I'm not really good with names, but yeah, they basically said how a bunch of furries get hate just because they're furries, and they misunderstood them for also being zoophiles. Okay, so for this, if an attraction itself does cause like a level of harm, it is like it's the attraction's fault. Like for example, if someone was to have, I think you've mentioned this before, an attraction to murder or something, that's entirely the fault of the attraction. Like your attraction is based upon raping animals, so I really don't understand how you say you can't blame it. Like it doesn't make sense. So it took me a while to when I was reading this, but if they haven't abused a child yet, what do you mean by yet? Like, do you think it's inevitable that a paedophile will harm a child? Because I mean, yeah, paedophiles will hurt a child. Also, yeah, being a paedophile does mean you abuse children. I mean, assuming that you act upon it. Like, if you don't, if it's if it's just the attraction, like it's strange, but keeping it under control makes sense. I mean, not makes sense, but as in it's good, because then you're not like you're not hurting anyone. This statement is just idiotic. The basis of paedophilia is like a harmful gesture towards children, whereas being a furry is just like you're acting as a character pretty much. I mean, I think so. I don't really have that good of a grasp on what being a furry is. But if that's what it is, then like it's no different from being an actor. And furries nor actors, like like just the basis of that isn't bad. Now, obviously you can get bad furries and bad actors, but that doesn't mean that they're all like bad. Like pedophiles in like the mass majority of them are bad. The only ones I'd consider not bad are the ones that don't act upon it and just realize that it's a bad thing and just don't do anything. Like don't being not being a paedophile. We're getting through these points. We're finally on the sixth one. No, being a paedophile and acting upon it, like it's still bad. Like you're still, like, in order for that to happen, there has to be grooming. Like, that's just that's just how it works. I mean, this can, like, with this point, there are, like, I don't really think there's any physical implications, but there are mental ones, and, like, this, like, it can affect someone. Like, they could only be doing it to make the other person happy, which that even happens with adults. So I don't really get, like, your point doesn't really make any sense. Like, for a child, like, maybe, like, the person was like, maybe they were just friends with someone, like, that would make that person happy. But, like, if they were doing this, it could make them, like, if, like, let's say the adult pushed this onto them, it would be stressful. Like, a child wouldn't, like, you don't really see children doing this. So you put, I don't know. This, I'm tired, and I've been speaking for well over half an hour now. Okay, so with this point, there's different answers. You could say no because you're saving the world. Because for some reason, someone would ask you to save the world. Like, I don't. It's such a weird scenario, as if it would happen, which it just wouldn't. But anyways, um, it's bad because they're manipulating you, and you'd assume it's for their own gain and for the gain of others. Like, it's just you'd just be using that person. So, I mean, if someone was just using me for that, and I didn't want to do it, then yes, I would hate them. Now, granted, in this scenario, this very, very unlikely one, they'd be saving the world, but one thing that you're missing is that that person is still being used for that other person's own gain. So, like, sure, like, people, like, in this unlikely scenario, the world's being saved, but someone is still being used for someone else's benefit. That's just, like, it's, like, a very immoral thing to do. Okay, so based off of this comment, this person's basically saying they support grooming because I don't know, they think that it has a good outcome, or it's good that it happens. Like, no. Like, grooming is still bad. Like, I don't think they know the extent of it. Like, if this person was groomed themselves, they probably wouldn't be saying that. Like, I know people who have been groomed, and I have been groomed myself. It is not a good thing. It's very stressful, and especially when you're younger, like, it is very impactful. Like, like, he doesn't. I don't. This person just doesn't understand how bad it is. And if he did not know, he really wouldn't be saying the stuff he's been saying. We've only got two more, like, points to go, as in, like, two more comments, that is. There's still more to it, but anyways, this person also believes that necrophilia is okay because they're dead. They're not living and cannot physically consent, so they just think it's okay, which is just, it's just so dumb. Like, there's a lot more to it. Like, if, like, a dead person was still a person. Like, if, like, sure, they can't consent, but, like, you, if anything, that's just, I think that's even worse, because you're making, like, that would be someone making use of the fact that they can't. So, and, like, other than the fact that there's probably a lot of diseases you can get from it, it's not exactly a good thing to do anyway, because you're just making use of someone who's dead, and they can't stop you. I mean, they were a person, like, and, like, it's just, there's so much wrong with it that you just, I don't get how you can support all of these things when they have so many implications to it. Again, like, they keep making really dumb points. Like, like, those types of things, they weren't a person. Like, oil was, like, originally, like, real, like, organisms, but those were dead millions, in fact, millions of years ago. So, like, there's a very big difference. Like, let's just say you were to die. Would you want someone making use of your body when you were gone? No, you probably wouldn't, but you're probably going to disagree because that's just something you like to do, apparently. There's a big difference between dogs and children. Whilst they have similar comprehensive abilities, they are still very different. Like, you can't compare the two because of how different they are. It's an unfair comparison. Like, it's one of the reasons why, like, zoophilia is bad, that they can't consent. It's not the only reason. Like, you can't just pin. That's not the only bad reason. There's many others which I have said hundreds of times before. Like, okay, so with this, animals don't get pleasure, so that's just null and void. And children, it's like they shouldn't. Like, it's highly unlikely that they would enjoy it because not only are they like have they not developed enough to really know what's going on, but their bodies aren't like they haven't developed enough, and you can't force development. Like, that comes with time, and that's time you can't just force on them. Okay, so with this, I'm not trying to manipulate anyone. I'm simply stating my opinion and having an argument. And there's no manipulation. In fact, the people that have like said that agree with me, they've been having it for like they've been saying it for longer than I have. So how can I be manipulating someone if this is something they've been doing before I've even talked about it? So your point is null and void as per. And the thing about physical harm is it's most likely that it's more of a it's so likely to happen. You could say it will definitely happen. And also with the mental thing, that's also very likely to happen too because it's a very stressful thing to go through, like for someone that age. Now, I've not even done it, and the idea of it does seem stressful to me. I don't really know what to say about that. Like, you could ask every single person who has ever been groomed, and I can guarantee at least 95, actually no, 98% of people would say that they didn't support whoever groomed them. Like, I could guarantee that I'd put every single thing I'd ever own on that. I've had people call me a bigot before, both Alusky and this person here. No, I don't consider myself a bigot because I'm not. Like, I mean, like, the only things that I don't support are pedophiles, and zoophiles, necrophiles, and people who like incest. Like, it's not a irrational thing. Like, it's completely normal for me to think that. And like, I support gay people, trans people, and other people. Like, I don't like that. It doesn't impact my life. Whereas zoophiles have actively came towards me to preach their ideas. Yeah, I get called a bigot because of it, which just, in my opinion, doesn't make sense. I'm not saying that you're the devil. I've never uttered that at all. I just believe that paedophiles and zoophiles, like, their beliefs are just wrong, and not approving of someone's beliefs has been a part of life for decades. Like, it's not a irrational thing. Like, I mean, like, you could go back through history, and there are people who disagree. Like, it's a normal thing to disagree with people. Not everyone is the same, as evidenced by the fact that I don't support zoophiles and you do. I don't support paedophiles and you do. I don't support necrophiles and yet you do. Like, people are different. No one can help that. Like, so, I mean, like, before I've said Alusky came to me, you also came to me. I hadn't heard of you before. Like, this is something zoophiles do. They just come to people out of the blue, and then they just try to prove them wrong because their beliefs are being like attacked. If anything, this is more akin to what like religious people do. Now, this next thing this really gets on my nerves. So he says that because of supposedly millions of people just hate him, that is a more depressing life than I will ever live. That, like, as if he knows me. You know, this isn't exactly something I really wanted to say, but I want to make this person feel bad because, like, they've really annoyed me here. So, I'm 16, going to be 17 soon, and in the past few years of my life, I have been bullied by people who I considered friends. Had three relatives die in the span of 5 years, and one of them was the only person for the first decade and a half of my life actually be nice to me. And that's just the basis of it. There's much more to it than I've said, and I mean, I could go more into it, but I don't really feel like it. And you know what? Do it. Go ahead. You've already annoyed me, so you might as well keep going. I mean, go ahead. I mean, I don't know what else you can really say that can annoy me or potentially even upset me, which, I mean, it is possible that it could happen, but who knows? I mean, I don't really care about you. You're not relevant to me. You're just some random person who just supports zoophiles, pedophiles, and necrophiles, and that just doesn't sit well with me. So, I mean, if you want to say anything more, go ahead. I'll probably respond because, I mean, what else am I meant to do? I'm currently on summer break, so, you know, I've not got anything to do. And, yeah, that's all of what I'm gonna cover. God, my throat hurts. I've been recording for quite a long time because there were some bits that I had to redo because I wasn't loud enough or I didn't articulate what I wanted to say properly. And, yeah, thank you. Well, if anyone's watched up to this point, thanks. And I'll speak to you. I won't speak to you, but as in, I'll see you guys in if there's a next video. Adios.